Now, the weather forecast promised sunshine. There's a bit of sun, but it's going to get brighter apparently, which is good because this video is all about taking amazing portraits in full sun. Hello, I'm Gavin Hoey and you're watching Adorama TV, brought to you by Adorama, the camera store that's got everything for us photographers. And normally, full sun is not the ideal conditions to take photos. Having said that, sometimes you don't have any choice. And in this video, I've got 5 tips for taking great portraits when the sun is fully out. To make this happen, I'm going to need a few bits. I'm going to need a diffuser, probably a flash, and just, well, a camera would be a good start. Whilst I'm getting those ready, you should click on the subscribe button and the bell icon so you never miss a video right here on Adorama TV. Okay, 1 second. Let's get everything ready, then we'll go take some photos. So to help me out today, I've got the awesome Jade. Jade's going to be the model for this photo session, and as you can see, it's a lovely sunny day. Perfect day for getting out and taking some photos. But how are you going to deal with this sun? Well, let's start with tip number 1, which is get out of the sun. So Jade, we're in the sun at the moment. Go and have a seat by that tree in the shade. So asking Jade to sit in the shade is going to give me a couple of advantages. The first one is just nice even exposure across her face. That's really good. And the second one is just way more comfortable for your model to be sat in the shade. Okay, let's take a few photos, see what we get. I'm going to be in aperture priority mode for this. I'm going to keep it nice and simple. I'm going to be fairly wide open. This is an f1.2 lens. I'm going to go f1.4 and my ISO, native ISO 200. Let's just take a shot, see how it looks. Okay, Jade, here we go. Now when I do that, I can see there is beautiful lighting on Jade. The background is going to be a little bit on the bright side, and that's kind of what you expect when you're photographing in the shade with a sunny background behind, but as long as it's not blown out, you're good to go. And that's really all there is to this one. So Jade, if you're ready, yeah, let's take a few shots like this. Here we go. All of these tips rely on the same thing, getting the exposure right on your subject's face. So I'm looking at the exposure on Jade's face. I'm getting it right by eye, but you could use something like spot metering if that's your preferred way of working. As you can see, we've moved around and Jade is now in a great location, but in full sun. This is really not a nice place to be, both for Jade and photographically. Well, let me show you how it looks with a photo. Here we go, Jade. Quick little test photo. And it is really contrasty light on Jade. There is some weird lighting going on. All in all, not great. One solution for this is to create your own shade, and that's what I'm going to do with this. This is a diffuser. This is the Halo Compact Plus from Manfrotto. So the idea with this is it goes between the sun and your subject and creates shade. This is a 2-stop diffuser. 75% of the light will be cut out, but there's so much light that that's plenty. And of course it means it's much more comfortable for Jade to be in the photos. But there is a downside to this. I don't know if you can spot what it is. Yeah, how do I take the pictures and have the diffuser here? Well, you either need a light stand to clamp this onto, or you need a willing volunteer. So Raj, in you come. I've got a job for you. Okay, let's take a test photo, see how that looks. Okay, here we go. And immediately that is 100 times better. Nice diffused lighting on Jade, looks superb. Okay, so if everybody's ready, we'll take a few shots like this. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Remember, anything that's not covered by the shade that's cast by the diffuser is always going to be several stops brighter than the exposure on your subject's face. Now, that can be a problem if you have a small diffuser or a wide-angle lens, but you can use it to your advantage. For example, the grass in the foreground is going to be several stops brighter than the exposure on Jade's face, which should give it a nice ethereal look. What if you find yourself in the situation where you can't find any shade, where you didn't bring a diffuser? You have to take photos in the sun. Well, you can do it, and if you have to do it, here's my advice. expose for the highlights. Don't lose the highlight detail, because that is where you're going to lose image that you can't recover in post-processing. So what I'm going to do is take a photograph, just let the camera do its own thing and see where we go from there. So Jade, I'm just going to come around here. Jade has got some sunglasses on because I'm not that mean. So if I let the camera do its own thing, it's trying to expose for the shadows and the highlights, and it's not doing a bad job, but really expose for the highlights. I'm actually going to dial down my exposure compensation one stop to maintain the detail in the highlights. And that looks like this. Yes, this is my least favorite way of working, but it's better than nothing at all. Well, this is a great position for me to photograph in because I've got the sun on my back, it's lovely. Except for Jade, this isn't good because she's going to be looking straight into the sun and squinting. I'm not going to get good photos. And it's important to remember, as a photographer, you come second to your model's requirements. So how do you deal with this? Well, you come around the other side and sacrifice your convenience for your models. So Jade, I'm going to come around here and shoot into the sun. Now, as we all know, shooting directly into the sun is one of those big no-nos in photography. Except if you just do a few little steps, you'll be absolutely fine. Just make sure that your lens is perfectly clean. Don't want to get any weird lens flare. And if you have a lens hood, that can sometimes help too. Other than that, that's all you need to do. Jade, let's take a few photos like this. Here we go. If you're lucky enough to have a dark background, this technique can work really well because effectively Jade is creating her own shade, and as a nice little bonus, the sun is acting as a hair light, which really becomes obvious with a darker background. And finally, we get to flash. Now, flash can help you out in a whole bunch of different ways, but this way is perhaps a combination of what we've done so far, because what I've got is Jade sat down in the shadow cast by the softbox. So without the softbox, Jade is in the sunlight, but if I turn this around, she's in the shade. So I've made my own shade, and now I'm going to push some light into there as well. But before I do that, I'm going to work out the exposure without the flash firing. So I'm still using a fairly wide open aperture, f1.4. I'm at ISO 64, quite low for this shot, and 4,000th of a second shutter speed. Here we go, Jade, quick test photo. This is telling me I'm underexposing by around about 2 stops, and that feels pretty good because now I can add some flash to fill in the shadows. How much flash? Well, unfortunately my flash meter can't help me with high-speed sync flash, so I'm going to guess maybe 1/8 power. Let's try that, middle of the road. Okay, Jade, here we go, quick little test photo. And that looks a nice balance between the ambient light and the flash. And of course, the advantage of a flash, I get soft lighting on Jade and a nice little catch light in her eyes. And that's it, everything is set. So Jade, are you ready? Okay, let's take some photos. Here we go. Just because I'm using flash, nothing's really changed here. Right at the beginning I said it's the exposure on Jade's face that matters, and that's exactly what I'm still looking at, even though I'm now using flash. People often joke that it is always raining in the UK. That's not strictly true, but it does change weather quite quickly, and sure enough, at the end of the shoot now we have nothing but overcast skies, which is actually quite nice. Now, if you've enjoyed this video or you've got any questions, leave me a comment down below. Click on the bell icon and you'll never miss a video right here on Adorama TV. We have new content pretty much every single day, and of course remember to click on that subscribe button. I'm Gavin Hoey, thanks for watching.